Okay, so what are some of the new things we're going to be doing today? So in today's lesson, based on kind of just scanning other classes and seeing what's working well, we're going to try something called example problem pairs. And I'll explain to you in a moment what that is. But essentially, what that's going to mean is we're going to have a bit more of a tighter structure in the lesson. I'm going to do a specific example, and then you guys are going to do what's called the problem pairs. So that's something that's a bit newer, or it's a little bit new. Then the other thing is when we answer the problem pairs, I am going to ask some of you to maybe contribute a little bit with audio, like maybe saying, okay, you do this step or you do that step. So we're going to try and allow a bit more audio input for learners, but when we're actually answering the problem pairs, which are going to be part of the lesson. Okay, so that's a little bit of a change. The other thing is we're going to be using a timer. So you'll see a little bit, well, I'm going to try to use a timer. And so you'll get given maybe 2 minutes on the timer when you're doing the problem pairs. And then after we've done those 2 minutes, we will then ask for audio input. And then sometimes I will also use what's called the mute all button at some points when maybe I want to see who, I want to put everyone on mute, and then when someone raises their hand, I will unmute them to give audio input. So that's just a couple of changes. You'll pick them up as we go today, but just to let you know up front, and Rebetsu has snuck in with an answer. Okay, Rebetsu, I'll go back later if there's time. Otherwise, at the beginning of the next lesson, we'll go there. Okay, so let's do this. So let's look at, you can see quite clearly no, not a problem, Roberto. I'm just impressed you gave us an answer. Here is example 1, and you can see on the right-hand side hiding is my problem pair. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you in the example what I want to do, and then you guys are going to, after that, you're going to do the same sort of question. Okay, so let's go through this together. It says, consider the sequence below, and the sequence is 7, 10, 13, 16. Now, this is a number pattern written in normal number pattern form. But if we can also write this number pattern in what's called table form, in which case the first row of the table is its position, and the second row is the value. So you can see there's a 7 here, a 7 here, 10 here, and so on. So one of the things you need to be comfortable with is translating between, say, the number form and the table form. In previous lessons, I've often said this is n and this is tn, or the term. Okay, so what do we have to do in this question? Well, if we think about the previous lessons, when we've had patterns like this, we always look for the constant difference or the step size. And in this one, the step size is 3. So it's not too hard to see the next one is 19. But since this question wants us to fill it in the table, I'm going to go to the table. So that's 19, that's 22, and then the next one is 25. So that's the first part of the example. Then the next part of the example, it's actually asking me for the formula. So it's given me the position n, which is an unknown, and it wants to know the value of the term. So what I do, and I did this in previous lessons, is I write in here, I can, in all the previous ones, we always wrote the step size in front of the n. So in this case, the step size was 3. So this is going to be 3n. But if I have to put in, if I put 1, so if I was using back in this first row, if I put 1 into my formula, 3 times 1 does not give me 7. So what I need to do is I need to add an adjusted term, or the constant term, to allow my formula to make sense. So I now go 3n plus 4. So this is, and if I wrote it out in full, we don't have to because it's in table form here, but in full, the formula for this number pattern would be 3n plus 4. Tn equals 3n plus 4. But in the table form, we can just write 3n plus 4. Now, if I've done this correctly, let's just check it quickly. If I go to this row here, does my formula make sense? 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. So I'm feeling happy about my working out there. Let's try here. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 plus 4 is 13. Okay, so I feel comfortable that I've answered the question. And in the block at the end where there was just an N, then all I'm doing for the one below it is I'm writing the formula in. Okay, guys, so that's our example that I wanted to do for you. What we're going to do now is I'm going to give you 2 questions that are just like this. Okay, and I'm even going to enlarge them a little bit so you can see. Let's see if that's it. So, and I'm also going to bring in my counter. So let me get that. Control C down here. Control V. So can everybody, if you can see the board clearly, give me a thumbs up in the chat. And what I want to do now is I'm going to give you 2 minutes to try and do the first one. And for those students who are feeling very, very comfortable, you can try and do the second one. Okay, can some people not see the board? Is it helpful if I do that? Oh, how is that? Well, I think I've made this screen up.
Please try to put a full screen on your laptops.
I tell you what, let's do this.
That will help you.
I did the example for you. I think that is pretty big. Can you all see the board now? And so everyone is going to try and do the first one. And if you're super on fire, you try and do the second one. And I'm going to start the timer now. Let's see if my timer works. I'll turn that off. Yes, it is. And off you go. Be the best you can be.
Let's go, guys. We can do this.
Thanks, Yolanda. I think they're off to the races.
Yes, everybody's so focused now. Let's go. I'm rooting for every one of you. Please, if you can't hear anything, try to select the audio button there on the on your left-hand side where it says mute on the mic. If you can select on that button there to choose the audio, then you can hear Teacher Peter and I.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Yeah. Go ahead. What is your? So you're going to wait until the end of the 2 minutes before I take any questions. And I'm actually going to reset the timer a little bit because I feel like students need a little bit more time. So I'm setting it back to 1 minute 12. Okay, because I think we have a little bit of, need a bit more extra time. And then I'm going to mute all. And then okay, so Yolanda, do you think we need a little bit more time for the students?
Yes, please. Oh, I see some answers coming.
Let's give a little bit more time.
Okay.
For those students who are, because we're still getting our timer length correct, but for those who are ahead of the game, then you can do example 3 as well. But for now, let's give a little bit more time.
You guys are fast. Keep going. Yes, I see all these answers. So exciting.
I know the timer makes it a little bit. Oops. All right. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit more time later, but what I'd like to do is mark the first example. And so I'd love for someone to come on the line and just tell me what are, not the formula, I just want someone to tell me the numbers that are going to go here in the yellow bit. And if you put your hand up now, so I'm going to go to Amakle. And so I've asked Amakle to unmute. And if you could just tell us what your answers would be for these ones over here.
I got for position of the tongue 2. I got 5.
Okay, and the next one?
7.
Yep.
9.
Yeah.
11.
Agreed.
13.
Yep.
And 15.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Now,
Well done, Amashle.
Well done. So I'm going to ask Peter, because his hand is up, to help us with the solution to the next one. So let's just see. I'm going to ask you to unmute Peter. And so if you can unmute yourself and let's just have a look here. And then let us know how would you go about working out the formula here? Can you hear me, Peter? Or can you see there? If you are...
Peter is talking, but you need to unmute yourself, Peter.
Cool. So go ahead, Peter. Or can you see there? If you could unmute yourself. I see your hand is up. We'd love to hear from you.
So,
yeah.
In order to calculate all this, I got 2n plus 1.
2n plus 1 is what I heard. 2n plus 1. I agree with you because your step size was going up in 2s. And so that 2's over there, and then you had your balancing term over there. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to give you guys a little bit more, so that's perfect. I'm going to give you a little bit more time for the next one. So we're going to say a minute, and then we're going to do the same thing for example 3. It's a little bit trickier, example 3. So Kaketso, if you look at example 3, one of the things you have to think about is it is a little bit different above, but basically what it's saying is the first term is -1. The second term is -3. The next term is -5. And so what I want to suggest is that that is the number pattern that they gave you above, but they've left it out in this question. And so now I want to know what's the next couple. So I'm going to ask some more students. The timer has run out. And so I'm going to ask, I see in the chat, lots of answers are coming through. But people who would like Ibanati, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and that would be fantastic if you could give us a bit of guidance as to what you did here. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Benati, go ahead.
Hi, sir. For term 4, I got -7.
Perfect. How did you get -7? What thinking were you using?
So I saw that the step size was 2.
Okay. And I see what's important. You saw it was going down by 2, not up by 2. So that was, okay, go for the next one.
Term 5 is -9.
Yep.
Term 6, -11.
Yep. Next one.
Term 7, -15.
-15, are you sure?
Mm,
Think about it. So what, if you go from -11, what's the next one?
-13.
Perfect.
-13.
Thank you so much. You've been super helpful. And I'm going to ask another student, Buchle, if she would help us or he would help us with the next one. Let's just see if Buchle is unmuted. And I'm trying to get it to unmute. Buchle, are you having any luck? I am unmuting you. There we go. Otherwise, if Buchle is not available, Andile, if you could help us, that would be awesome too. Any ideas? Okay, we seem to have, go ahead. Yeah, Buchle?
2n minus 1.
2n minus 1.
Negative 2n minus 1.
Okay, let's see if we agree with that. So if we put a 1 in, -2 times 1 minus 1, that gives me -3. And the problem is, but thank you, the problem is we need to get to -1, we're getting to -3. So what I want to suggest is that instead of a -1, what we do, it's a +1. Yeah, perfect. Okay, well done, everyone. And that was something a little bit new, and it'll get easier each time we do this. But I think that for a lot of students, that would have, I think that process would have helped. So how did you feel doing it like that? Thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you were like, nah, don't like this so much. Just want to get a feel for the class. Okay. I'll leave it on the board for a second, and then we're going to do another set of examples like this. Okay, there's some mixed feelings and some good feelings. It felt like a test. Okay, let's see what they say. Variety is the spice of life. Okay, so I'm going to do another set of examples like this, and then you are going to see the problem pairs on the right-hand side. So it says here, determine a formula for Tn for each of the sequences below. Notice how the question is slightly different now. There's no table. It's just a good old number pattern. And you don't even have to extend it. You just have to build the formula. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, what is the step size? It says we're going up in 5s. And so based on the method from before, we write down Tn equals 5n, where the 5 is the step size. Now I ask myself, I need to get to 2 as my first term. At the moment, my first term, if I put n as 1n, would be 5. And so 5 is 3 bigger than 2. And so my formula would be Tn equals 5n minus 3. I can test this to see if it works. And the good news is it is working, because we can see the 2 there and the 2 there. Okay, over to you guys. I'm going to give you, in this case, I'm actually going to give you closer to 3 minutes. I'm going to get my timer wherever it's hiding in a moment, and then you are going to try and do it. So let me quickly get it. Control C. And I'm going to give you about 3 to 4 minutes to do this. I'm going to reset the timer twice, basically. Let's see, all right. Everyone, can you determine the formula for this? Once you've done it, you can put your answer in the chat. And I'll also ask for audio feedback. And I'm giving you 4 minutes for this. So I'll reset the timer twice.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's do this. I'm excited. I'm also trying my own answer. So let's go, guys. Let's go. Let's see. Whoa, I can already see someone has answered. You guys are so fast.
But I like that there's some variation. If you look at the chat, there's some people who've got some of it, and then there's like slight differences. And it's nice to see those differences. We're going to talk about them now.
Sure, sure.
Put the lights on. And for those who are feeling like they've really got to they're on top of this, I want you to also work out T20 for both these questions. So the original question asks you for Tn, but I want you to also find T20 for each of these, just to kind of, if you've got some spare time.
We can do this, guys. And for those who don't understand, remember, ask your questions on the charts.
There we go. So I see quite a few answers coming through, which is good. Guys, I'm actually not going to take audio feedback on this question. We will, after our midway break, I'll take feedback again. But for this one, I'm going to just do the answers for you. But I want to see those answers in the chat. So what's the formula for this number pattern? What's the formula for this number pattern? And I'm going to start doing the first one. So let's see. These are a little bit trickier though, huh? We must be careful because it looks to me like it's going down in 4s. And so when I build my formula, it's not going to be plus 4n, it's going to be negative 4n. However, what happens, we need to think about how do we balance this one. Okay, I'll give a little bit more time. Now, I want you to think about what is this missing term that's going to occur over here. I see the answers coming in for T20 as well. So the answer here is going to be, at the moment, I'm at negative 4. So if I put in 1 into my formula, I get to negative 4. And what I really want to be at is negative 2. So I actually need to go up by 2. Think about it. It's a bit weird, actually, but it's true. You're at negative 4 and you want to get up to negative 2. So you need to go up by 2 units. And so my formula, the correct answer is going to be negative 4n plus 2. So that is going to be the correct formula for this one. And you can check it by seeing if you put 1 in, or let's say you put 2 in. If you put 2 in, you'd really be hoping you end up with a negative 6. So negative 4 times by 2 plus 2, that gives me negative 8 plus 2. Happy days. Okay, so that is that formula over there. It's negative 4n plus 2. And then to answer T20, I just put a 20 in there. I get negative 80 plus 2. Now, this is where I need to be careful. If I'm adding 2 to negative 80, I don't get negative 82. I get negative 78. If you're unsure about this, I did a video on whole numbers earlier in the year, where I did a whole section. Okay, and then I want to see in the chat, I see some people have put answers for the third one. And so I'm just going to do that before we have our break. Again, what makes these harder? What makes it harder is there's sort of negative numbers and positive numbers floating around. So for this one, it looks to me like I'm going up in sixes. And so when I write my formula down, I start by doing this, but I also know that I still need to balance things. Now, at the moment, it's telling me my first term is 6, which is just not true. I don't have 6 as my first term, I have -2. So what do I need to do to get from 6 to -2? I need to take away 8. And so we should get Tn equals 6n minus 8. And then to figure out what the 20th term in, actually, I think a couple of you, I might have caught you with that. Are there questions about how if you know how I got this 6n minus 8 and you feel comfortable, give us a thumbs up. If you feel very confused, give me a thumbs down. I want to just get a feel for the people. Okay. Mixture. All right. Keep those votes coming. It's about 50-50. So I'm just going to go over this one a little bit more carefully because I think I lost some of you here. So let's do that here. I think everyone is happy with the 6n part. So it's going up in sixes. And so we have this over here. We have a 6n. But the problem we have is if we work out what term 1 is, using the formula I currently have, my first term is 6. But that's not true because in the question, the first term is -2. So I've got a problem. I need to get to -2, but I'm stuck at 6. So what is the journey to get from 6 to -2? Maybe somebody could pop online and does anybody want to give us an explanation of how I get from 6 to -2? Put your hand up and I can, Koketso, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hello.
Hi, Koketso, go ahead.
So from 6, you have to -8 to get -2, sir.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's tricky because in order to go from here, you have to go all the way to 0, which is 6 units, and then another 2 to get to -2. So that's why the formula is 6n minus 8. Now, if we've done this correctly, let's just see. T1 is now going to be -2. And what is T2 going to be? It's going to be 6 times 2 minus 8, which is 12 minus 8, which is 4. Which is good news because 4 is our second term. Again, can we have another vote now? If you feel like you sort of understand this now, thumbs up. If you still feel lost, thumbs down. Okay. So we're going to keep trying and you know, if you still feel unsure, don't worry, we'll try it again. Okay, but I think what is now, it's time for a brain break before we keep on going, because we need to practice some more of these. So what I want you to do now is I want you to step away from your table for a moment, and we're just going to stand up for a second, and you are going to do a bit of a physical activity. So, and I haven't done this one for a while, so I'm hoping I'll catch a few of you. So,
come on, Peter, let's stand up.
stand up, let's go.
See you there. See you.
Okay, come, Charity, you can do it. Bandile, you can do it. All right. So what you do is you take your right hand, you put it on your nose, and then you take your left hand and you put it on your right ear. Okay, so left hand's on right ear, right hand's on the nose. Now you're going to try and take your hand, your left hand onto your nose and your right hand to your opposite ear. And see if you can switch back.
I found it so difficult.
It is hard.
It's challenging, guys. I don't know how you're finding it.
The more you practice it, the better you get. And eventually your brain can just do it like this. You have to practice. Yeah, I want to see who can do this. Bandile is pretty good at this. Mbali is pretty good. Sunny Liso is pretty good. And yeah, so
Oh,
this is
Mr.
called
Phillips.
a midline crossing activity, and it's really good for just getting your brain to kind of wash away for a second. I also want to give you a different brain break. So I want everyone to try and answer this question. So this is the question at the bottom is where it is. So what is a yellow flower plus a blue flower times a red flower? And I want you to just take a minute to think about that and see if you can answer me in the chat.
Let's go, guys. Let's do it.
Micah is on a roll. There's a couple of different various answers. Let's give some time. What does the red flower have to be? Yes, so the red flower has to be 20 because there's 3 of the same things and they get to 60. And since this is still a red flower, it's going to stay like that. So put your answers in the chat so we can recognize who is, so blue is 5. Yep. And we know that because to get to 30. And what is the yellow going to be? I think the yellow is going to be 2. And so what is the final answer? Well, because of BODMAS, we have to do the multiplication first. And so the final answer should be 102. Well done. Look, I see lots of you got it right.
Yes.
Well done, Mohammed.
Well done, everybody.
Well done, guys. So that was just something a little different for our brain break today. Oh, wow, you all got it. Cool. Now we must definitely do a couple more of these brain breaks. Okay, let us get back to one more set of questions here. So in this question, what we're going to do now, this question C is a little bit tricky. I'm only going to suggest you do it if you've completely mastered A and B. Don't worry about doing C if you're having trouble with A and B. It's just not necessary. I'm going to do example 3, and then I'm going to ask you to do the problem pairs on the right-hand side. Okay, so think about how I do this. No, well, let me think about how I do this. I'll zoom in completely. So it says determine a formula for Tn. In order to determine a formula for Tn, I'm going to look for my step size of my pattern. And it looks to me like I'm going up in 4s. Okay, so I'm going up in 4s. Now, I want to build a formula. And there's a very set way of doing this if it's a linear pattern, a pattern where there's a constant amount being added or subtracted. And what I do is I simply write down the 4 next to the n in multiplication. Now, what the 4 is doing is it's giving us all the 4s we need to generate the pattern. So, for example, if I put a 2 in there, I'll get 2 lots of 4. If I put a 3 in for n, I'll get 3 lots of 4. And so that's how the formula works. It's magic, is it adds more 4s depending on what position you're in. The problem is the formula doesn't know where to start. Now, this particular formula, its first value will be 4. The problem is the first value in the number pattern I have is -1. And so I have to somehow make a way to get from 4 to -1. And the tricky bit is I need to go the 4 units all the way to 0, and then I need to go another 1. So essentially what I'm having to do, and this is what people were getting stuck on in the previous one, is I actually have to take away 5. Okay, so we get Tn equals 4n minus 5. And the most difficult part is the -5 over here. And the way to do it is just to think, okay, what have I got as my current first term? Where do I need to get to? I need to get to -1. What is the journey to get from 4 to -1? And whatever that journey is, in this case, it's -5, it will be this one here. Then I now have my formula. My formula is 4n minus 5. It can help me to work out what T50 is. What is T50? It's like a weird thing to even say. It's the 50th position. It's the term, if I had to basically start at -1 as 1 and count to 2, 3, 4, and count to the 50th position, T50 is the value. And the way I get that is I put a 50 where n is, and I do that. And then I say 4 times 50 is 200, minus 5 is 195. And so then I've done B. Okay, so B is fine. Now, the last bit, and this is the one that I want you to ignore if you're not feeling comfortable with A and B. It's saying, look, at some point in this list, there's a 403. At some point, the number pattern gets to 403. What is the position of this 403? What is it? Is it the 50th term? Is it the 60th? I mean, I guess it must be more than 50 because 195 is 50 and 403 is much higher. And this is where we follow a method. Instead of using the n in the formula, instead of using this, we're instead going to sub the 403 into this Tn part here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 403 equals 4n minus 5. Notice how that is the exact same formula that I worked out above. I'm using it. Then what I have to do, using my knowledge of equations, is I'm going to add 5 to both sides. If I add 5 to both sides, these get knocked out and I get 408 equals 4n. And then if I divide that by 4, if I divide both sides by 4, I'm then going to get that n is equal to 102. And what that means is that the term 403, so the term 403 is the 102nd term in the list. And so that's what it actually means. Now, I'm not going to linger on that for too long because that just needs extra practice, but I'd like you all to try and do those two example ones here. So the one on the right-hand side, there's 2 questions that haven't been answered. I want you to attempt, and I'm not going to put the timer up for now, but I'm going to give you about, in fact, we're only going to do one. Let's do one for now. And then only those who are feeling very on top of it can try the second one. And I want you to try and do that now.
Let's go, guys. You guys are doing really well.
Okay, and then a raised hand by a student. Let's have a look. Let's try and get my chat messages showing. I've asked you to unmute, so you can go ahead and unmute to ask your question while students are working on that. Go ahead.
Sir, I was saying today we had a test, like a mini test, but also counts for marks.
Okay.
we did algebra and algebraic expressions.
Yes.
Even though we didn't do them here, but I was
Yes.
asking, when are we gonna revise on them or do them again? Yeah. At home.
Algebra is the next. Algebra is coming up soon. If you look at the schedule on the Watobe website, there is a algebra. There's a functions and algebra modules that are coming up straight after this. Straight after this unit. So it's the next units we're doing.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure. So let's see what formula we get for this first one. What is the step size? It feels to me like it's 1, but it's not even 1, it's -1. I like doing that first step where I just kind of make it clear. So we get -1n. And now I have to ask myself, what is my first term? At the moment, my first term is -1. But what I'd really like to be at is I'd like to be at 4. So what's the journey to get from -1 to 4? And how can that help me? Yeah. So I think I need to add 5. And so my formula will be -1n plus 5. For those who can, you can do the second one as well, but we'll just wait for, actually, no, wait, I've got to do the next part. So what is T32? Well, it is just going to be putting a 32 where the n is. And so we should get that it's equal to -27. So I'll just take a moment to show you how I got that. I used my formula and I put a 32 in because I needed a T32. And so if I do that, the only tricky bit is when I go -32 plus 5, and then I get my -27. So take a moment to look at how I did that. And then the last one, in order to get which term is equal to -44, I'm actually going to use the formula, but remember, I put -44 in this place here. And so now you have to solve for what the n is. Koketso, what part of the question would you like me to explain? Okay, the 32 part. Okay, so all I did was, first of all, you have to be happy that I found my formula and the formula is right. All I did then was I said, look, where is the n in my formula? Well, the n is over here. Well, it's over here and it's over here. So I put a 32 there, a 32 there, and then I simply multiplied it out and added. Okay, let's just see. This is going to be our last question. I'm going to leave question 3 for the next lesson, but for now, let's just see what the position of this is. So -44 equals -1n plus 5. I need to take away 5 from both sides. If I do that, I get -49 equals -1n. And then if I divide both sides by -1, I should get n is 49, in which case T49 equals 114, or the 49th term is 114. So for those students who have finished with question 4, let's see how much time we've got left. I'm going to pick up, I'm going to give you the answer to that in the next lesson. I'm rather not going to go into that right now, but we'll start the next lesson where I'll just give you the answer to that one over there. Okay, guys, so we tried a few things today, and we have one more lesson left in the series. But what I want to ask you again is we try our best to get the poll as kind of, yeah, the pace of the lesson. And so I just want to get some feedback from you guys as to how you found the general speed of the lesson. And it just helps me as a teacher to know kind of where we're going. And then I'll finish the lesson by just taking a couple of questions. So I think a lot of students might still have some questions from the lesson. And so if you put your hand up now, I will come to you and you can ask onto some questions. Okay. So Fuchera, go ahead. I'll ask you to unmute. Okay, keep those answers coming, guys. Keep those. Go ahead, Fuchera.
Could be that Future maybe made a mistake by
So guys, if you are done, if you don't have a question, you are free to leave at this point. Thank you so much for today, and then I will see you in the next lesson. Okay.
Good job, everybody.
Well done, everyone. That was really, really good. I enjoyed the lesson. I hope that it was helpful to you too. Bye, Tumelo. Bye, Mbali. Bye, everyone. Have a good one. And if you could just ask you, okay, everyone has answered the poll. Fantastic. Cheers, everyone. Thanks, Yolanda, for your help today. It was much appreciated. I hope that you, yeah.
Thank you so much.
I hope that each time we do this, it's getting a bit more familiar.
Yeah, it does get a little bit better. Thank you. I think it was nice. It was a nice session.
Cool. All right, everyone. Well, if there's no questions from the class, we're going to finish off now. And then our last lesson on number patterns will be on Wednesday. Okay. Cool. I'm going to end the poll. And then I'm also... All right, so Yolanda, I'm going to end the meeting. Anybody else have a question or comment? Oh, Amakle, you've got a question. What's your question? Go ahead. Do you want to, must I unmute you? Let's have a look.
Sir, my question is, when you find a formula,
Yeah.
for example, the 4n minus 2,
Yeah.
we basically we say 4 and then we times 18. I mean, yes, times 18.
Which question are you? Oh, so, okay, for 18. If you want, so if you've got 4n minus 2 as the formula, right? Which you've got for this one over here, 4n minus 2. In order to find 18, you're just going to put an 18 in there. So 4 times 18 minus 2.
Oh.
You see, because the 18 is where the n is. And so you get 72 minus 2, which is 70 there. Okay. Pleasure, man. Okay. I think it is now time to bring the party to a close. And so, bye.